Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this William Spring video and live streaming. We have been doing a few tests, and I hope that we're going to get through this broadcast all right. I'm doing a broadcast today because of the American election, Clinton versus Trump. Now, this is coming from London, and we're not trying to tell the Americans how to vote. That's how they vote is up to them. I'm simply putting some markers down so that whenever the election is held and finished and the votes are all counted, that we can get a reference to what we thought today before the election takes place. Although, of course, in many states, apparently, there's this thing called early voting, and many people have already voted. So I just want to say a few things extempore, as it were. I am a journalist. I've been in journalism for a long, long time. In fact, I started my journalism in the United States of America with some articles when I was a teenager in an American newspaper called the Seattle Post-Intelligencer. And that paper is now folded, I believe. So I've outlived my original newspaper that I published in. I've continued with my writing over the years, and also broadcasting. I do broadcast occasionally on the Arab satellite channels. I used to broadcast on RT until I found that their model is that they don't pay anybody, or they certainly wouldn't pay me. So after that, I didn't continue with RT. However, I welcome the satellite channels because they enable some independence of opinion to be expressed. At the moment, there is very little independence of opinion within the context of British terrestrial broadcasting. I found that out years ago when I went to summon Tony Blair to Highgate Magistrates Court, and the BBC said they were going to send somebody down. Then they phoned just 1 minute before the hearing saying the person wasn't coming. Later on a radio program in England, which was a phone-in, I opined, expressed the view that David Cameron, but the same applies to him as well, that Tony Blair was a war criminal. And apparently the BBC got very upset about this and fired the lady who did the interview, and I was never allowed on BBC again. So the BBC is a state-controlled monopoly which has the job of making sure people in Britain think in the right way. Equally, I'm afraid NBC and CBS in America seem to have the BBC disease. They have a certain spin on the story. Well, let's now go back to the basic issue today. The basic issue is Trump versus Clinton. I am totally opposed to Hillary Clinton getting elected. I admire Trump. Whatever his faults, he's doing one great thing. He's standing out for the people. He's a tribune of the people. And that's, to my mind, a great advantage, because people like the Clintons, they stand out only for themselves. The Clintons and the Democrats who've followed Bill Clinton, like Obama, the Obama presidency, was simply a coterie of self-invited guests who have hijacked the American political system. And I just hope that for once the American people will see through this dreadful charade of Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. I will try and end these comments more or less straight away. I just say that my first contact with the Clintons was back in 1990, whatever, I think 96, 97, when Bill Clinton started bombing Yugoslavia, a totally inoffensive country was having difficulties, civil war difficulties, but had no reason to be bombed by the Americans. And the Americans and the British had only one objective, and that was to set up bases in the Balkans, in the Yugoslavia, partition Yugoslavia, murder the president, Milosevic, which is what they successfully did at The Hague, and get rid of opposition to NATO imperialism in the Balkans. They did this quite successfully, fragmented Yugoslavia, killed many, many innocent people on the way. Bill Clinton led an airstrike on, or ordered an airstrike on the television studio in Belgrade, which killed a number of makeup artists. And these, he said, were war criminals, as did Tony Blair. NATO also did a terrible atrocity against the Chinese embassy, killing diplomats, which was an act of war against the Republic of China. But China did not go to war with America. And there were many other atrocities of a similar kind. So the end of that is that they got their way, and Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton have always got their way by violence. They came, they saw, he was murdered. That's about Gaddafi. That's what Hillary Clinton said. She didn't say she murdered him, but she said, I came, I saw, he died. She's an absolutely repulsive, callous, unfeeling, insensitive woman who doesn't mind how many children die, how many young people die, how many young marrieds die, as long as she gets her way. Now, I just sincerely hope that the American people do not re-elect the dynasty of the Clintons again. Do not bring them back into power. Although the Obama presidency was not dissimilar from the Clintons. Notice his great breach of faith over at Guantanamo Bay. He said he would close it, and it's still open today. So vote Trump